Speedway's toughest road trip is complete. And after 4 nights of racing, everyone was left stunned by Stephen Lyons.
It's a second Speed Week win for Stephen Lyons and the Halls Haulage team.
It was a week that saw some teams go deep into their bank of spare parts.
Ready for a massive crash. Jordan Brazier into the wall. Damien Abbott rides a wheel. Look how high he gets.
Now the party arrives in Brisbane and the world #1 has been invited. Can the travelling World Series drivers continue their form, or will the mixture of Americans and locals be too hot to handle? Enzed World Series Sprint Cars, presented by Hog's Breath Cafe and Carline, has arrived here in Brisbane. This is the first of 2 back-to-back shows here at Archerfield Speedway. And after the disappointment of a rain-out Waterville, it's so good to hear the howl of a 410 cubic inch sprint car back on the clay. Let's check out how the points are looking. After playing his Joker very well with a podium finish at Avalon, Robbie Farr holds the series lead, but he's not racing here this weekend. Stephen Lyons has yet to play his Joker and is really in the box seat in terms of the title chase, but this is the track where we expect to see James McFadden shoot up the series points. So no Robbie Farr here this weekend in Brisbane, and at 31 cars, it's actually our smallest entry list that we've had so far for this season. But as Bryony Ingerson tells us, it's about quality, not quantity.
That's right, Chad. In terms of names, they don't come much bigger than this. Donny Schatz, he's a 5-time World of Outlaw champion, the current Knoxville Nationals champion, and he's headlining here tonight at what's become his second home here in Brisbane.
Yeah, it is. It's enjoying myself coming here. Australia has always been a great place for me to come in the off season and do a little racing. It's been great. The crowds have been stellar. The people come down. I've gotten more gifts, I think, here than I have anywhere in the world. So it's supposed to be a holiday. I think that's the excuse we use to come over here. But really, when you love to race, you just want to go.
Schatz is joined by fellow American and winner of the Sydney World Series round, Jason Sides, driving the trademark 7S for Horrell Motorsport.
You know, World Series is always a tough race, their format and everything, and got a lot of really good cars. So, you know, we just come in here with a mindset of hopefully get a good top 5 and go from there.
Stephen Lyons has the Speed Week trophy in his grasp, and he's in career best form. So too is the defending World Series champ, James McFadden. So will either of them gamble their Joker for double points at this track?
Not sure when to use it. We've thought about it a couple of times, but haven't used it yet. We'll just see how this, how these next few races pan out, and on the right night we'll call it, and hopefully we can do all right out of it.
It all depends on how we qualify tonight, I guess. You know, the way the weather is, the track's going to be slick and should allow a lot of passing. So if we qualify well, I can't see why we shouldn't.
One thing that is for certain is the heat is going to play a part in the race here tonight. Track organisers have been preparing this circuit for the past 3 days in anticipation of these sweltering 40-degree-plus conditions.
There certainly are a lot of big names here tonight at Archerfield Speedway. Well, the cars have already been out on track for Carline qualifying, and the time trials have turned out some very big surprises tonight. First of all, our quick-time man is Brian Man. We know the local racers love taking it to the Americans and the travelling World Series drivers, and that's exactly what he's done in setting quick-time. The big surprises involve the big names. Schatz, only good enough for 11th. Tatnall, 15th. Shane Stewart, 17th. And some young guns turned it on too. Pesca, Veal, Blingy Muir, all making the top 10. The other big surprise is James McFadden. We're expecting to see a little bit more out of him in Carline qualifying, and as a result, at the moment, he hasn't chosen to play that all-important Joker card. Does this mean that he's saving it for our next event here at Archerfield Speedway? Well, the heat has been a big talking point of today, and with that in mind, let's get into the heats.
This is one very busy place. Johnny Gibson, it is elbows up and spurs on around the Archerfield Speedway. And we're going to see a couple of guys having to push from deep in the pack. As we know, qualifying points are tough. J-Mac doing a strong job and Luke Dillon always quick.
Also, Donnie Schatz in this one. Schatz has been strong at Archerfield over the past couple of seasons, including a win in the Open here 2 years ago, as we get set for green flag action.
Terry Bracken on the pole with Queenslander Stephen Rao. So a pair of locals on the front row as we go green at Archerfield Speedway. Super Cheap Autos, Archerfield Speedway, and Bracken pulls away nicely, but look at Murcott up the inside.
Murcott, Shane Stewart, and Andrew Wright. A three-car battle for the third spot as they race through 3 and 4. Give it to Wright. Schatz now on the move. Looks to the inside of the Milwaukee Power Tools number 7. Can't do anything with Shane Stewart there.
Oh, how tight was Blingy Muir then in the Titan Garages number 36. The car pushed up track and he lost a spot.
Track is still very, very tacky despite the 40-degree temperatures this afternoon. A lot of moisture in this racing surface, and Davey Muir showed it right there.
A nice job to drive back on the inside as we see Shane Stewart blinging up high, very much at a gasser around these parts. The shots now starts to work on the number 7, and underneath goes the crimp safe number 15 car. Gets the pass on fellow American Shane Stewart.
Textbook slide job by the multiple outlaw champion. Donnie Schatz pulling away from Shane Stewart now, advancing here in the opening heat race.
James McFadden in that white number 1 directly in behind him. These days, Queensland is his home base. He was born in Alice Springs in the Northern Territory, but a Queensland man these days. I'm pretty sure he's still a Territorian at heart as we see shots going by Andrew Wright. He got loose and Stewart got him as well.
Andrew Wright got the car very sideways, nearly came through the infield there, opened up the door for both Schatz and Shane Stewart. Wright now falls back, and James McFadden the next to close in on the Hitachi 78.
Oh, Dylan just absolutely railed McFadden. How fast did he go by then?
Luke Dillon very strong on the bottom of the racetrack, pulling away from McFadden already. Now he'll set his sights on Andrew Wright. They're separated by 10 car lengths down the backstretch.
I mean, he's had his hands full. Terry Bracken, good job. The Mitchell Motorsport number 19, Eagle Silicon Ignition leads entry, takes the win from Rowell in second. Strong result for the two Queenslanders, doing a nice job there. Then you go back to David Murcott, and also in there, Donnie Schatz made it into the top 4. Coming up after the break, there's more heat racing from Archerfield and our Hog's Breath Tech Grill. Heat race action coming your way, but we're going to have a bit of a look back at some of the earlier action, and we're going to see Stephen Lyons really charging hard in that number 3 as Richard Morgan prepares for battle. Lyonsy, as always, starting deep in the pack after a strong time trial. He gave Luke Oldfield a bit of a don't argue.
Yeah, a little bit of a bump there, and now Lyons in pursuit of fast qualifier Brian Mann. Lyons a little sideways there, couldn't get by that black number 16.
Your victor turned out to be Gary Brazier, who's done a number of laps around this circuit. Probably good job. Let's take a look at your lineup right now, though. Strong heat race here. You've got Tack to the right of the screen as we get set to go with Paul Morris on the front row and Jackson Delamont, who actually got aced on the outside by Andrew Shirley. Delamont fights back. Look at this battle. You got Tatnall, Morgan, Sides, and Veal to the right of screen. Sides takes a peek to the inside of Tatnall, but can't do anything. Tatnall to the inside, nearly got in Morgan. They stay green, and now Sides goes by the Red Rooster 54 of Richard Morgan. Pesca very tight further back in that field. Sides a little bit tight as well, and again, this track still very, very tacky late in the opening round of heat races. We should explain tight, Johnny. When a car is tight, it wants to just keep driving deep into the corner. Front wheels are usually in a left-hand direction. The car is not sliding in, it's driving in deep. There's a fine line between tight and loose, but as we know, tight is generally fast. Work Tatnall showing you just how much grip there is in the racetrack as the front end comes up off the ground as he exits the corner. We ride on board with Daniel Pesca. Jamie Veal, who's starting to get to grips with Archerfield. He hasn't been here before, driving that number 35 car, and he's really powering on. Just lost a little bit of ground there. Pesca seems to have a bit of a liking for this place. He timed in strong.
Daniel Pesca working the high side of the speedway, closing in on Paul Morgan. Again, Veal right behind him, laps winding down. Look at the brake rotor glowing orange on Jamie Veal's number 35.
Shows how hard he's running that left pedal to try and settle the car in the corners. It's a real stab and steer kind of a racetrack. Last lap, Paul Morris, the dude, in the Hungry Jack Super Cheap Autos entry. And that man there, a former Queensland champ, a KRE Series champ. Andrew Shirley's done it all around this place. Morris will get the win from Shirley in second. Jackson Delamont, strong result for him there as well. And Brent April locking in a top 4.
So the track's still lightning fast, but not all that wide at the moment. Some really strong cars struggling to advance, including Brooke Tatnell, who comes home in 5th. Jason Sides, Richard Morgan, and Jamie Veal at the back as well.
Yeah, quick time man Brian Mann still looking very good. Daniel Pesca having a great night.
The first set of heats without incident, and as you would expect, the Americans, Schatz, Stewart and Sides all making some ground in their heats. A bit tougher though for some of our World Series regulars. Jamie, you had a...
Tonight it's very stacked heats, so I got very good drivers. Yeah, we're a bit tight in the setup, and the track was just still a bit heavy, so hopefully in this next heat we'll make a few up. We went back into points a bit then, so hopefully, yeah, just get that bit going, make these dash.
This is a 410 cubic inch V8 sprint car motor. It looks tough, it sounds tough. It can rev to about 8,000 RPM and produce about 900 horsepower. But because it requires 100 working, moving parts, while it might look tough, it's certainly not indestructible. If you have a weak stomach and can't handle the sight of broken and disfigured engine internals, then you might want to look away now. Because on today's Tech Grill, we're examining engine damage and the parts that get hurt. These are their stories. Burnt pistons, broken conrods, busted sumps. All victims of a sport that can sometimes turn engine internals into externals. Breakages like this cost you race wins and a lot of money. A major detonation that leaves you with this kind of damage is usually caused by one of 3 things: old age, excessive RPM, or the wrong tune-up. Engines and their parts have an expiry date. Despite being refreshed every 750 kilometres, they still have a tendency to fail if they're kept in the motor for too long. Over-revving the engine is a great way to break the more fragile parts, usually found in the cylinder heads. Valves, valve springs, lifters and rockers can all be casualties of a life lived at over 8,000 RPM. Finally, a bad tune-up is typically one that has an incorrect mixture of fuel and air. Not enough fuel builds up heat hot enough to burn aluminium, and that's when the cause of death.
There's more elbow-to-elbow Archerfield action coming up after the break, and we'll meet Jamie Veal, the Warrnambool whiz kid who's a World Series rookie in our Amadio Wines Open Red. Welcome back to Enzed World Series Sprint Cars, presented by Hog's Breath Cafe and Carline Mufflers. Earlier in the night, Brian Mann set quick time for Carline Mufflers. A great result for the Queenslander, and it's been a very fast racetrack.
Yes, it has. The track is still lightning quick. In fact, lap time still within about a half a second of what we saw during that qualifying earlier this evening.
Terry Bracken has been very lively, one of the local heroes here with a heat race win as we get set to push away with this heat race. Let's look back though. Some frantic action for guys like Stephen Lyons and Brooke Tatnell trying to get their way forward. Dylan Jenkins was the man who was able to win this heat race and drive away in the 51. but still, the track hasn't really widened up so much, and the guys are struggling to get through from the back.
It's a very physical racetrack as well. Have to be in top shape to wrestle a 900 horsepower sprint car around this little bull ring in these conditions.
You see the guys too picking up the right front wheel. They really do drive hard off these corners. Let's take a look at your lineup right now for this heat race action, and we're going to see, well, charging from the back, Luke Oldfield. Now, he's doing a great job so far.
Yeah, Oldfield coming off a best finish of the season here on New Year's night with a top 3 run.
Starting well back in the field, there is Donny Schatz and Danny Reedy. We get set to go green. Raul alongside Brazier. Oh, Raul got very much out of shape. And the guy that profited from that, West Aussie Daniel Harding, went through to second place.
Donny Schatz a little crossed up in turn 2 as well. He gathers it back in. Field starting to string out just a bit. Shane Stewart closing in on Daniel Harding in the race for second as they roar into turn 1.
Stewart really put the squeeze on the young fella out of Perth. They're doing the entire series, but not as a contracted team. Just an effort to get more experience and really learn about the elite level of sprint car racing.
Meanwhile, Donny Schatz going to work on the low side, nearly gets into Raul. They'll go side by side down the backstretch.
Raul, a second-generation racer in the IXL Premium Lubricants car, is the best in the world. Donny Schatz charges around the number 15. We should say, Johnny, we've talked a lot about the racetrack widening up. It stays the same physical shape, but the racing surface changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, the groove will actually move up higher on the speedway, opening up a little more racing room in the corners especially. Schatz now closing in on Shane Stewart. Schatz to the inside there. Slide job coming up. No, he keeps the car down low.
Every year he does several races here at this circuit. Really well bases himself in December, late December, January with the big shows here. So Donny's got plenty of track time up his sleeve at this place. Look at Harding. What a great job for this young man out of Western Australia. He's a third-generation racer. To the left of your screen, that's Daniel Harding in the One Life Suicide Prevention Program car.
Shane Stewart closing in on Harding once again. This is the battle for second. They race into turn 1. Stewart down low, Harding up high. Stewart this time barely squeezes by to make the move.
There was nothing in that, was there? Stewart, a sweet run. Both these teams from Western Australia. Donny Schatz right in behind. Our race leaders have checked out, but that's a great scrap. Now Harding, who had to deal with Shane Stewart earlier, now has the unenviable task of trying to hold out Donny Schatz. Oh, big bike there, Johnny.
Yeah, Schatz got the car way up on the right side wheels, was fortunate to gather it back onto all 4s. He'll now follow Harding down the backstretch on the final lap.
Gary Brazier will get the win in the Capella Records number 21. Stewart charging hard, Harding well done, but let's look at Donny Schatz and how good is his car control. There it is, gets up on the right side wheels. He just brings it back down and gets back on the gas. There's your results. Strong win for Gary Brazier.
Shane Stewart second. Nice job by Daniel Harding to finish third as we take a look at the points after the final round of heat race action.
And Luke Dillon emerging as the top point scorer, but have a go at the Queenslanders. Shirley, Oldfield and April all in the top 8, while Shane Stewart and Brooke Tatnall a lot of work to do in the B.
So the heats are done here at Archerfield, and the Diamond Bay Motorsport car with Luke Dillon at the wheel is number 1 in the points so far. You were struggling to pass cars. I don't think this place is nearly as slick as we thought it would go.
No, I think with the 41-degree heat today, they were, you know, they put a lot of water in it, made sure they didn't dust their crowd out, and then it seemed to have cooled off, you know, a little bit compared to what it was like today. So I think the track stayed more moist than they intended.
Well, you get back to getting this thing sorted for the top 8 shootout thanks to Amadio Wines. The other guy we want to talk about, young West Aussie Dan Harding, has come all the way over to do this World Series trip and have a bit of experience. And I tell you what, he just about got it racing with Shane Stewart and also Donny Schatz. You wanted experience? Dan, you just got it.
Yeah, that was awesome. You know, Gary Brazier standing in front of me and just tried to follow him, and yeah, racing with Shane and Donny, so you know, you can't ask much more than that.
B-main for you, you're starting on the transfer spot with Gary Brazier behind you. It just keeps coming.
Yeah, but that's what we're here for. You know, these guys are sort of the pinnacle of the sport, and we need to get there. So we just keep racing and get our elbows up and start fighting.
Grew up in Warrnambool, went to school at Enzed, just near Premier Speedway, so perfect location for my career of racing. So it makes it very easy, and I've got the best track in the country here, Premier Speedway. I've always loved it. I always went to Speedway when the classic come around. Like, it was pretty much my Christmas. I love it. Like, the town gets so behind and everything, and I'm pretty lucky. How did I get the nickname The Real Deal? It actually come in just Speedway magazine. It just someone wrote it in there once, and it has stuck, and I hate it.
because you guys say it, the commentators and all the media say it, but then all my mates say it, and then everyone else says it, like at the pub or, you know, everywhere else. It's just, yeah, I get the real deal, I get the no deal, I get everything. It's, as you can see in the shop here, we've got a few toys. My brothers are into motorbikes, we've got a boat, everyone loves going skiing, a couple of jet skis, just stuff to relax with and, you know, get a bit racing. Actually, the boat's been pretty good lately. Everyone's been getting into that, so we don't really get much of a chance in Warrnambool. The weather's always very cold, so this time of year we make the most of it. To be a part of World Series, I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, this year we had a plan just to go to America, get a big experience in, come back here and give it a red hot crack. And now I'm at a stage where I can go out there and I can, you know, get close to contend races. I can make every show. Hopefully I can win a World Series race. It's, you know, Warrnambool would be the perfect track. You know, it's in front of my home, family, everyone. So, but I know I'll take a World Series race, win anywhere.
Well, Jamie Veal's got a bit of work to do just yet. He has to get through the Hog's Breath B main before he gets to the big dance. We'll come back after this and see how he fares.
Mario Wine's the official wine supplier for Enzed World Series Sprint Cars, and this season they're helping us to figure out the front 4 rows of the A main. It's the Amadio Wines Top 8 Shootout. Let's check out how all that panned out. And it was good seeing some local Queensland drivers making the Amadio Top 8 Shootout, including Oldfield and April. They went out in the bronze shootout. Shirley, he went out in the silver, and in the end it was Luke Dillon and Stephen Lyons. They'll be off the front row together today. Johnny Schatz and Brian Mann, they'll be off in the second row right behind them. Well, you can hear it's getting loud out here. 410 Sprint Cars are back at Archerfield Speedway. The B main's getting ready to go right now. They're hot lapping. Let's take you to our commentators.
Wow, what an interesting B main we're set for right now. A lot of World Series contracted guys in the B, including the first 2 rows. They are all World Series tourists.
Yeah, Brooke Tatnell, Shane Stewart, Jamie Veal, Dylan Jenkin, all from the front of this B main as the green flag waves. Just the top 6 move into our main event.
Down to 1, and look at Morris. That is a frightening crash.
Oh, nasty accident there as we went into turn 1. Paul Morris upside down in a big, big way.
And that carried a lot of forward momentum, didn't it? He launched over someone's wheel there and just vaulted into the air. And a lot of contact on the front and the rear of the chassis. Oh, here's the onboard. Dylan Jenkin looking out the back. Morris gets into the side of Harding. Oh, that is a brutal shot.
Those end-over-end flips with a lot of contact like that, very jarring on the driver. Morris lucky to be able to climb out of this one.
Absolutely. It just goes to show you the safety involved in sprint car racing when you can tumble end for end at over 150 kilometres an hour and climb out. That's the good news. Jackson Delamont is another young guy that's got a charge hard. We're looking at Dylan Jenkin, who's got himself in the B and has to get into the A. Jackson's a little further back, Johnny.
Yeah, Jackson Delamont trying to get back into the main event after missing out at Avalon. He qualified for the 2 previous A features. He's a rookie this year with the Enzed World Series Sprint Car.
So there's your front row, Brooke Tatnell and Jamie Veal, Shane Stewart and Dylan Jenkin. Then we go back to Gary Brazier and Daniel Harding. We are green here at Super Cheap Auto Archerfield Speedway, Enzed World Series Sprint Cars. And look at this to the outside, Terry Bracken pushing hard in the 19.
Bracken working well on the outside of the speedway, and Jackson Delamont had a good turn 1 working the low side of the racetrack.
Oh, Dylan Jenkin tossed her in nice and early behind Veal. Brazier looming with intent as well as we look at the Milwaukee Power Tools, number 7 of Shane Stewart.
Back toward the battle for the transfer spot. Again, Delamont takes a peek to the inside, can't make the move.
So just to clarify, you need to be in the top 6 when the checker falls to get yourself into the A-main coming up soon. Bracken, a lot of experience both here in Queensland and also on the road with World Series sprint cars in seasons gone by.
Bracken in that final transfer spot and now starting to pull away from the rest of the field.
Daniel Harding again, and third in the shot just then, doing an excellent job around a racetrack that would probably fit almost inside his home track, the Perth Motorplex.
Harding gets a good run off the bottom of turn 2, can't make the pass. Down the backstretch into turn 3, again trying to hold the low line on the speedway, but the car seems to want to push out as he exits the corner.
Kevin Tittman there in the shot, the white car to the right of your screen, a second-generation racer. His dad, one of Australia's best-ever solo motorcycle riders. Bracken just ahead there of Jackson Delamont. Tittman joining in that battle as well, and we've got caution. Looks like the 88 car, the Pro Rally Experience entry, has gone around.
James Grady bringing out the caution flag here in this B-main.
So back on board with Shane Stewart. You're watching the B-main, your last chance qualifier for Enzed World Series Sprint Cars at the Archerfield Speedway, adjacent to the Archerfield Airport. It's a busy little place, always something flying in this area.
Tatnall back on the hammer as we go back green. Out in front of the B-main, we watch Daniel Harding try to work his way up into contention, and now Tittman to the inside trying to grab the final transfer spot from the 19 of Terry Bracken.
Oh, Bracken sneaks up the inside on Gary Brazier. Braz ran very high into turn 1. We right on board. Hold on tight. We're on the tail tank here, heading down the back straight at Archerfield Speedway. What a great shot. Braz hustling the 21.
Brazier currently in the 5th position, and that's the man in the transfer spot, that 19 of Terry Bracken.
Bracken running the car that Ricky Mitchell used to race for Dad Peter, and charging hard at the moment, Terry just ahead of Tittman, and they're all white, number 59.
Well, Tittman picked the front end up off the ground just a bit there in 1 and 2, but still gets another run on Bracken into turn 1.
What a battle this is for the final transfer position to tonight's A-main. And Bracken, it's a beautiful looking car. Tittman really putting the pressure on. Tatnall driving away with just 5 laps to go.
Tatnall works the inside. Traffic about to come into play here.
He's done a lot of laps around this racetrack over the years. Brooke Tatnall, a lot of wins up his sleeve here as well. And he's really steamrolling towards a good win. Stewart pretty strong in second. Veal in third. Dylan Jenkins rounding out the top 4 as this Cricket Motorsports Cool starts to negotiate lap traffic.
Tatnall around the outside of the slower car will fade back to that battle for the transfer spot again. Bracken solidly in the position right now as he is pulled away just a bit from Tittman. And just as I say that, Tittman gets a run on him in 1 and 2.
That's the beauty of the Archerfield Speedway. You can really make up a ton of ground. If you get the car out of shape, the guy behind you is all of a sudden going to monster you. 2 laps to go in your Hog's Breath Cafe B-main, and it is all Brooke Tatnall.
Tatnall right on the back end of Nathan McFarland's number 9, working the traffic through 1 and 2, and that's going to allow Shane Stewart to close on the final lap.
Didn't he make some ground? No need really to pass him though. He's into the show if he stays right there. Brooke Tatnall the winner. Stewart has got some encouraging signs there. He's in that 2nd spot. Dylan Jenkins in 3rd, wrapping up the transfer position with Veal in 3rd, my mistake. Dylan Jenkins in 4th.
Gary Brazier 5th, and Bracken hanging on for that final transfer position. He'll start at the back of tonight's main event.
We saw that frightening crash for Paul Morris earlier. Bryony's in the pits to find out how he's faring.
Some big names, Brooke Tatnall and Shane Stewart, making it into the back of the A feature tonight. But the big story from that B main, gee whiz, Paul Morris, what a ride that was. Talk us through it from your end.
Well, he just, we got a side-by-side start, and he just chased me all the way down the infield till there was nothing left, and used me up. So I don't know why you really need to do that. It's a nice racetrack here tonight, so 2 or 3 lanes wide, so plenty of room for everyone. But obviously he wanted the bit of road I had.
Looking back on the replay, it looked like a pretty a fierce hit from our point of view. You've had a look at it too. What did you think?
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular. The big thing was the nose impact on that, knocked my knee on the steering box. But compared to crashing a big V8 supercar or a big heavy car, it's not that big of impact really. The cars are pretty light, and you're not really going that fast.
So Paul Morris unfortunately missing out on tonight's A-main, but there are 20 guys absolutely amped about going at it at Archerfield Speedway. Going to be a wild A-main. We're getting to a really critical point in the championship. Massive points on offer here. Stick around, the A-main is coming up. Welcome back to Enzed World Series Sprint Cars here at the Super Cheap Auto Archerfield Speedway. And as you can see, we're getting set to push off for tonight's 30-lap A main. And the championship is at a very critical point right now, Johnny Gibson. We still have at least 4 to 5 major contenders.
Yeah, including Stephen Lyons, who's a two-time winner, but still just second in the point standings. But he's got a good starting spot here and maybe an opportunity to grab the command.
Remarkably, we've not seen a win from James McFadden yet. At this point last year, he was absolutely on fire.
Yeah, McFadden starting 10th in this one, missed the Amadio Wines top 8 shootout, but no stranger to victory lane here. He was the winner of the Australian Open at Archerfield last year.
A few guys very happy to be inside the top 8 on our grid as well. Luke Oldfield, Brent April, Brian Mann. Good to see the Queensland guys standing tall here tonight.
And of course, a couple of drivers to watch out for from the back of the pack. Brooke Tatnall coming from that B main, as well as Shane Stewart in the Milwaukee Power Tools number 7.
Yeah, Jamie Veal's got some work to do, so has Dylan Jenkin. Danny Reedy on the outside of our 4 wide here, and look at everyone with their iPhones up there, getting some sparkle going in the crowd here at Archerfield. It has a proud history, World Series Sprint Cars, at this elbows up little bull ring.
Tonight, the 45th World Series round at Archerfield, second all-time on the list, only behind Speedway City in Adelaide.
At times, they've had several rounds. In fact, they've kicked off the series, they've concluded the series, and they always have this January period where we run at least 2 weekends in a row. Next week, it's a 50-lap event, but for now, it's back to our traditional 30, and that's a physical get-around with this place.
It certainly is, especially with the tight track conditions that we have this evening. Still hasn't widened out all that much. It's going to be very physical, especially with the warm temperatures we've got this evening.
Well done to Luke Dillon, qualifying on the front row with Stephen Lyons. I bet there's never been 2 South Australians on the front row of a World Series round at Archerfield before, so it's new territory for the series.
Good job by Brian Mann to move to the inside of Donnie Schatz to take the 3rd spot. Now Schatz in 4th, and some action right behind him as well.
David Murcott, always something going on with David Murcott, isn't there? Oldfield doing a good job in the NQ17, floating up high on the back wheels. That is what you got to love about sprint cars.
Big wheel stand by Oldfield, and defending champion James McFadden able to take advantage. He'll move by.
Wow, that was spectacular. 900 horsepower driven through those big rear tyres. That is what can happen. Look how busy it is at the rear. You've got Brazier in there, you've got Jenkin, you've got Brooke Tatnall, you've also got Shane Stewart. That is a battle for about 16th position right now.
Also, Peter Lack trying to make something happen on the high side. Stewart moving in on Lack, but can't quite make the pass as they roll down the front straightaway.
Peter Lack, one of 2 Queenslanders to 1 World Series rounds at the Kalgoorlie Speedway. Now no longer a part of the World Series schedule, but a proud time for Queenslanders as we now see Brian Mann. Very busy indeed. He set quick time for Carline Mufflers earlier in the night. Now he's got Donnie Schatz breathing down his tailpipe.
Schatz was able to climb right onto his back bumper just a couple of laps ago, but Mann starting to pull away. Now Schatz takes a peek to the inside, and you can see Schatz wrestling that car through the corner as well.
Everybody down low, particularly in turn 3 and 4. Schatz to the inside, and Mann denies him. Nice drive for the number 16 to keep Schatz at bay. How long he can do that is the question that's unanswered.
Nice look at the wall cam. You can see just how close these cars come to that outside retaining wall as they exit the corner. Schatz still all over Mann in the race for 3rd.
An Eagle chassis to the left and the J&J chassis on the outside. Schatz. This is ominous for the guys out in front. Donnie's got clear track to come after Luke Dillon, your leader, and Stephen Lyons in the 2nd spot. Interestingly, with these guys right now, 2 South Australian drivers driving Western Australian-owned cars.
Traffic now in play for the race leaders. Dillon with the top spot. Lyons trying to come after him into 3 and 4. Lyons can't quite negotiate the slower car.
Career best for both these guys right now at this particular circuit. It hasn't been a happy hunting ground for guys outside, say, Queensland or New South Wales or United States of America, but the South Aussies 1 and 2 right now.
Heavy traffic now as they race down the front stretch, and Donnie Schatz gaining on the leaders as we look back from Dylan Jenkin, who's trying to avoid going a lap down.
And he's not going to be able to do that. Luke Dillon dives through on the inside. You can just see Stephen Lyons in the background right now as we ride on board the Gericke bulk handling number 51 Cool. Lyons is right there.
Stephen Lyons going to try to go to the high side in 3 and 4. Not many drivers able to make it work up top, with the exception of Donnie Schatz, who we saw earlier use the high side to get by Brian Mann for 3rd.
Gary Frazier currently in 15th position and about to go a lap down. The Diamond Bay Motorsports entry closing in. Wow, Lyons is right there, the opportunist. This is where Luke Dillon, he did nothing wrong. Lyons! Gee, that was close.
Lyons nearly got by, but wasn't able to complete the slide job. Now he'll go back to the top in 3 and 4, and now Schatz capitalizes, gets by on the inside.
You just get the feeling that Lyons' car is very tight. He got back on the inside of Schatz, though. Twice we saw the number 3 drift right to the wall in the last lap.
Great battle for the runner-up spot between Stephen Lyons. Down low, Lyons loses the handle in turn 4. He keeps the engine fired. He'll rejoin the field, but he lost a lot of spots there, and a close call for David Murcott as well.
Get the feeling that Lyons was struggling with the race car. You never see Lyons spin on his own like that. Now Schatz up behind Dillon, who works the inside on Peter Lack and puts him a lap down. Lap 18 of 30 here at Super Cheap Auto, Archerfield Speedway. And Dillon doing a solid job down low where the moisture is on the racetrack.
Luke Dillon doing a great job to hold off Donnie Schatz. Schatz has won twice already this season here at Super Cheap Auto, Archerfield Speedway.
Watching Schatz now, just railed by Lack. The lap car getting out of the way. Schatz coming after Luke Dillon. Remember, Luke led for most of the race at Murray Bridge for round 2, and he got pinged by Brooke Tatnell with a lap to go. Let's hope that Luke can stay out in front, this number 26.
Dillon and Schatz 1 and 2, then a straightaway back to the rest of the field. Heavy traffic again in front of the leaders, and this time cars racing side by side for position in front of the Diamond Bay Auto Group 26.
Good job for Dillon, but Donnie is right there. Look at him now. Ooh, he just pulled out before he got to the outside. You get that feeling right now, Donnie's going to be very careful not to show his intentions to Luke. Until it's too late.
Schatz goes to the top side in turn 3, right on the cushion, getting a run. Again, we look back from Gary Brazier at the battle for the lead between Luke Dillon and Donnie Schatz.
You can see how much higher Donnie is on the racetrack right now. He's searching around. Lap 23 of 30. Dillon is committed to the bottom. He doesn't want to get off there. Donnie has the element of surprise on his side.
Schatz to the bottom in 1 and 2. Now he'll follow in Dillon's tire tracks down the backstretch toward 3 and 4. Schatz goes to the top side, gonna try to make the move on the outside of the racetrack, and out of turn 4, Donnie Schatz will take the lead.
Right there is the reason why he is ranked as the best driver on the planet, probably for the last decade plus. What a talent, what a driver.
Schatz now trying to put Gary Brazier a lap down. We've got just 5 laps remaining in this Enzed World Series Sprint Cars main event.
Crew chiefs want their cars to work best for their drivers inside the last 5 to 10 laps, and that is exactly what's happening right now. Schatz, his car and driver combination at its most lethal inside of 5 laps to go.
Schatz was able to make the move around Brazier, now sets his sights on Shane Stewart, and we had a great look at that left rear shock working very hard on Stewart's number 7.
So Stewart about to go a lap down. Donnie Schatz timing this beautifully. Veal, he got Stewart and Veal in one corner. Oh, he'll be good one day, won't he?
Yeah, one of these days, Donnie Schatz might make a pretty decent sprint car driver. We've got caution on the speedway. Oh, it is Stephen Lyons once again.
Struggle Street right now for the championship contender. We'll take a break and come back in a moment. Welcome back to Super Cheap Auto, Archerfield Speedway, to the Enzed World Series Sprint Cars, presented by Carline Mufflers and Hog's Breath Cafe, and it is the Donnie Schatz travelling highlight reel.
Stephen Lyons getting pushed away once again, his second spin of the evening. That doesn't bode well for his battle to try to take the top spot in the point standings.
That's the NZ onboard camera looking back at the push car, just nudging that car into life. Sprint cars do not have a set of keys as such, or just a starter button. They have to be pushed into gear. That in turn turns the engine, it fires them up. You light the fuse on 900 horsepower in roughly 660 kilos. So we're talking a small road car with almost 1,000 horsepower. That is an impressive package.
Riding on board with Luke Dillon, he is second. He's going to have just 3 laps to try to get back by Donnie Schatz.
Look who's in third now. James McFadden has got himself up to third in that number 1. He was an unbelievable spectacle this time last year with Donnie in the Australian Open. Shirley too, pretty solid for Andrew Shirley. You just see him start to put the nose in there. You can also see Brian Mann, a solid job for him tonight.
Again, the Queenslanders doing very, very well against tough competition here tonight, but nobody has anything for Donnie Schatz at the moment. He's way out in front.
Luke Oldfield too, a solid job for another of the Queensland cars. So we see Donnie onto the final lap here, and what a drive it was. Luke Dillon take nothing away from him. He was just outdriven on the outside. Superb effort for the number 15 car. He gets yet another win at Archerfield.
His 20th career Enzed World Series Sprint Cars victory, 5th all-time.
Remarkable considering he's very rarely done the entire series. He just comes in and throws a grenade into the winner's circle every time he rolls up.
So Donnie Schatz grabs the victory here at Super Cheap Autos Archerfield Speedway. Luke Dillon, the highest finish ever at Archerfield in World Series action for a South Australian driver with that runner-up finish.
Well, it was the Donnie and Dillon show here at Archerfield. Bridie's on the infield right now with Donnie Schatz.
Well, Donnie, didn't time trial ideally, but gee, what a race tonight. Your first win for 2014. Well done.
Yeah, it's good to get a win this year. It doesn't feel like it's a new year. It's just a new day. The way we race, we just have to attack it. I don't know, I didn't feel like we had a bad qualifying lap, but we ended up 11th. So we dug out of a pretty big hole. Me and Eric and these guys at Monty Motorsports these guys did all the work. I did all the complaining, got them going the right direction, and they just made the car better every time we hit the racetrack.
Well, the championship situation looking very interesting indeed now. Luke Dillon going to the top of the points chart. James McFadden now in that 4th position looking very lively.
James, super drive from 10th to 3rd and your 2nd consecutive podium for World Series. You back?
Yeah, we're slowly getting there. We need to get this qualifying thing sorted out. You can't start that far back and expect to win races with guys that we're racing against. So yeah, really good for the team. We're rolling into some momentum. Not that we haven't had it, we just haven't had the results. It's been a frustrating start. We've had great car speed, but just no results. So it's good to slowly work our way up there, and hopefully we can make it a couple more steps on the podium for next week.
Well, our whole Hog Award goes to Paul Morris after that massive ride. Hog's Breath Cafe will be giving him some hospitality, which might make him feel just a little bit better. Johnny, the championship is alive and well right now.
It certainly is. And for Paul Morris, the good news, he's got a week's time to get that car put back together, because the Enzed World Series Sprint Car is right back here at Archerfield next week for 2 nights of action in the Australian Open.
Yeah, 50 laps and $20,000 to win. Dillon, Lyons, Tatnall, McFadden. It's going to be a great championship battle over the next few weeks as well. Look forward to your coverage on next week's show.